This video is brought to you by Patreon. Starting off today is a song that I thought was unreleased, but after some research, discovered otherwise. So before we dive back into where we left off, let me first cover this 2009 remix that I should have covered in part 1. The track You Will Never Have It by the now defunct band Babyland, released in 2009, is easily one of the most intriguing remix situations. Starting with the title, it's not a Skrillex remix, it's not a Sunny aka Skrillex remix, it's just Sunny. A swing mix by Sunny. This is the only remix that is purely labeled as just Sunny. Fun fact, when you look this remix up on YouTube, you can actually find an upload from one of the band members, and in the description you see them credit the song to their friend Sunny, which is pretty neat. When it comes to the band, they're a duo described as electronic junk punk. That label was given to them because of their unique mix of the singer playing keyboard and the second member being a percussionist who uses all sorts of items as instruments. The band released several projects and had a small following, but called it quits after they released the album that the song we're discussing was on. Starting with the original song, it's not too great. The singing is not my thing, and the production is a little low budget sounding. The 80s-esque synths with the unique percussion is an admirable pairing, but at the end of the day, it's just a really weak rock tune. With the remix, it's a well-known early boy that many think never got officially released, including me, but it actually made its way onto a 2009 Hot Topic exclusive compilation CD as well as a digital download. The CD was a compilation of artists on the Metropolis label, including Babyland. Getting into the track, it's nothing special. It continues that early trend of Sunny grabbing bad vocals and chopping them into a completely new sounding, usually better song. The builds, the drops, the vocal pauses, nothing to write home about. You will never hold on. The added swing mix tag would lead you to think the remix would have a new swinging sound, but not really. The end of the track is halfway decent with the new synth line that Skrillex adds, but again, it's the vocals that kill it. Cool story behind this one, but rather mid remix. Now, picking up where we left off in 2013, we have the Skrillex remix of the track International by London-based electronic duo Chase and Status. When the song was first discovered as part of the deluxe edition for the group's third album Brand New Machine, when it was available for pre-order, it went under the name Chase and Status vs Skrillex VIP, which is similar to past titles except for that VIP tag. That meant it was initially considered more of a collaborative variation in production, meaning they just both worked on an altered version of the song, but likely for marketing reasons they changed it to Skrillex Remix. For the original song itself, it's already electronic, complete with a drop, but it incorporates a lot of reggae elements as well, especially with its sampling of the song The Stopper by reggae artist Cuddy Ranks, who was actually later credited in the music video. International, to kill a DJ, me do partial. International, to kill a DJ, me do partial. The original is decent, the vocals I could take or leave, but I do like the several vibe switches throughout, as well as that heavy bass. Now for the remix, this is the point with Skrillex where I stopped listening to him as much. I don't necessarily dislike this era of him, it's just at this point his sound and career took a slight shift that lost me a bit. Despite that, this isn't bad. I don't love the remix, but there's definitely some interesting sound play going on here, with the buzzy synths, the tongue clicks, and some occasional shouts and grunts. It checks all the boxes of a normal Skrillex remix while having an emphasis on a trap sound. This version is for sure more hype, more danceable, but I just prefer when the original is non-electronic and then turned electronic with the remix. Those situations, I believe, birth the most dynamic and unique remixes. That's not always the case, but for this song in particular, the original is just not that different from the remix. I definitely get why it was initially called a VIP. Already we're in 2014, and what better way to start off the year than with another collaborative remix, this time alongside DJ Kill the Noise and DJ duo Milo and Otis for a remix of the Duck Sauce song NRG, aka Energy. Even though this was around the time I started drifting as a fan, this is a classic that I remember very fondly. But before I start to reminisce, let's first go over the track's history. The original NRG gets its name and main song structure from sampling the 1985 song Energy by Melissa Manchester. Even before the remix, the bass track is a bop. The organ-like synths, the distorted guitars, the added soul singing, it all makes for a super catchy banger. For the remix, it was released alongside a radio edit and a remix from producer Hudson Mohawk. For the one we're discussing, you've got the American DJ Kill the Noise, who's a longtime Skrillex collaborator, and then you have the smaller producer duo Milo and Otis, who's notable for playing with Skrillex on tour. Getting into the song, as you could expect, the energy is cranked up, especially with the newly added drums and drops. Drops full of droning, sometimes metallic-like bass. An interesting fun fact with this version is the sample is sung over by Sonny himself in order to enhance the song's core element. I've always respected this song for how unique it is, with all its goofy sound effects, the parody-like vocals, the subtle elements of disco, and those buttery smooth transitions. It's really something to behold. These guys really brewed up an anthem here. It's hard to not love this feel-good hit, even if it never leaves your head. Continuing with 2014 is a very interesting Skrillex remix. That'd be the Burial remix he did alongside producer Trollface, who's a smaller DJ known for his very abrasive sound. The original Burial is by British producer Yogi, whose biggest hits appear to be all the different versions of Burial. When it comes to those different versions, it gets complicated, so let me break it down. In 2014, Yogi released the Burial EP, which of course included the titular track. On the song, he's joined by a favorite rapper of mine, Pusha T. Then later in the year, the Burial The Remix is released, which contained 3 more remix interpretations. One by Skrillex and Trollface, then another by Italian producer Crookers, and then the third by British producer Moody Good. Now, of course, we're only here to talk about the Skrillex and Trollface version, but it's worth analyzing the most popular version of the song, which released a year later. That being the 2015 Burial, which featured Pusha T, Skrillex, Trollface, and Moody Good. I only bring that up because how strange is it that multiple remixes were combined to then be re-released under the name of the original? I thought it was interesting. Anyway, let's get into the original Burial. Honestly, not a big fan. It's a rather run-of-the-mill EDM song with very predictable drops. I like Pusha's inclusion, but the came, saw, conquered, bored, repeating line, bit whack to me. For the remix, it's interesting how Pusha isn't credited, but still very much a part of the song, and still, it's not much of an improvement. It is cool hearing the hallmarks of Skrillex combined with the more abrasive elements brought by Trollface, but again, it's those lyrics that kill it. Like, turn this bitch into a burial? What? The drop tweaks are welcome though, with the harsh tones, the wailing sirens, and some of those iconic Pusha yes thrown in. The remix is somewhat decent, it's just not one I see myself coming back to much. Another interesting situation comes to us, again in 2014 with the Skrillex and Zomboy remix of the studio album Skrillex song Ragabomb, which was part of the Ease My Mind v Ragabomb remix collection. This song is a unique situation for multiple reasons. First, it's very rare that Skrillex officially releases a remix of his own song. He's only done it a few times, and also because of who he chose to remix alongside, English producer Zomboy, who at one time he had a little beef with. Long story short, at the time there was an unreleased Skrillex song referred to as Untitled DJ Tool, which Zomboy heard before he released his own song called Terror Squad, which contained elements similar to it. He denies copying it at all, but it appears Skrillex thought otherwise. When Skrillex's 2014 album Recess dropped, it was discovered that the DJ Tool was actually a demo of the first song on the album, All Is Fair in Love and Bro Step. But now Skrillex purposely made the song resemble that copycat Zomboy song. But the title, All Is Love, actually signified that the beef was squashed. Fast forward to the Ragabomb remix, they're working together, so that's why it's a strange case. Anyway, for the original Ragabomb, it was also on Recess and actually shares the same featuring artists that were on All Is Love, the Raga Twins. It's pretty hard to dislike any studio album Skrillex track, especially this one because it's some heat. The Raga Twins sound awesome here with all the different vocal effects they have on, combined with the bonkers bass drops and some elements of jungle tossed in. For the Zomboy collab remix, it's quite a bit different right away. The buildup occurs fast and leads into a vocal chop nirvana. I think this song is a major improvement to an already great song. There's the Fat Man Scoop vocal from Recess, and there's even nods to the beef with all the different sample changes and vocal snippets thrown in.
It's fucking Zomboy. It's fucking. It's fucking.
They're just a bunch of guys doing as best they can in a very competitive business.
This remix feels super different, but in a great way. The final 2014 remix is a bit of a deep cut. Some know of it, some don't. The track in question is the Jack U remix of the Beyonce song 7-Eleven. Though I was a big fan back in the day, I had no clue this remix existed till now because these days it's pretty inaccessible. If you're not already aware, Jack U is a group comprised of Skrillex and American DJ Diplo, who together formed in 2013 and are only responsible for one album in 2015 as well as some smaller remix comps. During their short run, they only did this one official remix. The song they chose, 7-Eleven, was first released as a single for the platinum edition of her self-titled album, and for the song itself, not a massive fan. I have a lot of respect for Beyonce. I think she's very talented, but the lyrics and the pop trap vibe here, nah. I get the song is supposed to be a party banger, and I know a lot of people like the music video as well, but me personally, I've heard a lot better stuff from her. The reason I say the song is inaccessible now is because the song was only released on SoundCloud and at some private events, and the SoundCloud link is now private. You can still find it and listen to it, but it's just a little hidden. Technically, the remix was also on a promo CD in 2015. Its release time frame is interesting as well. It released after their debut single Take You There, but before their one and only Jack U album. When talking the remix, it's alright. It's really not too different from the original. The energy is of course increased and there's builds and drops, but nothing too extreme. I am quite a fan of the voice-like synths used during the drops. Those parts were sick. Definitely no favorite of mine, but an interesting flip on a well-known song. The Raga Twins return, this time with their own song for Skrillex to remix, that being Bad Man. Originally released in 2015, or is it 2016? We'll get into that. The Bad Man Skrillex remix was released in 2015 though as part of the 2015 Alsla Spring compilation. Like previously mentioned, Alsla is Skrillex's own label, and this was a project where artists on that label each created new songs specifically made for this compilation release. Besides a Jack U song, the only other Skrillex song on the comp is this remix right here. I mentioned the 2016 confusion because this appears to be the only time when the Skrillex remix released first officially before the original. The original Raga Twins Bad Man released first as a single and then as part of the Bad Man EP, both in 2016, about a year after the remix. It's very likely Skrillex just had the song early, and there was even talks of the original leaking early as well, but it's just interesting timeline-wise. Anyway, for more background on the Raga Twins, they're a dancehall / jungle duo that's been making music for decades. Getting into the original, I really dig the reggae vibe combined with the slightly electronic production. Featuring on the song is an artist named ARD, which when looking at the Raga Twins Facebook is just one of the members' sons, and he's not on the Skrillex remix at all, FYI. Here, I like the underlying swinging bass line, the jungle drums, and how can you not love the Snoop Dogg reference. The remix, like I said, this was a time where I didn't absolutely love all the music Skrillex was putting out. The remix is definitely better than the original. It's not terrible by any means, it's just a little underwhelming. The melody isn't too catchy, and the drops are nothing to write home about. The layered production here is impressive, but the remix overall just sounds like pretty basic 2015 era dubstep. For this next song, Red Lips, we're going to be discussing both officially released remixes, starting with the one most people know. The original song in question, Red Lips, is brought to us by DJ duo Good Times Ahead, aka GTA, with vocals from pop singer Sam Bruno. Before we get into the original, let me give some context for the remix. The Skrillex Red Lips remix was a fan favorite even before release. Multiple unreleased versions existed for it, some were liked a lot more than others, but we're only here to talk about the official ones. The release of the official remix was rocky. It was initially intended to be on the GTA Remix EP, but then Sonny's label stepped in and delayed its inclusion. Long story short, it officially released in 2015 with a surprisingly giant Skrillex logo on the front despite it not even being his song. For the original Red Lips, it's an alright track. I'm a fan of the unique filter put on Sam Bruno's voice, as well as the track's low-key but punchy synth drops.
Don't let her smile fool. Don't let her eyes.
The song is decent, it won't blow you away, it's just a little slow for my taste.
No, no, no,
For the 2015 Red Lips remix, it surprisingly keeps a large majority of the non-drop parts of the original, but when you get to the new drops, they're a major improvement. Skrillex adds a way more cinematic feel to those sections in particular. Similar to the previous remixes, I'm not in love with this at all. I do prefer it over, say, the Badman or Burial remixes, that's for sure, mainly for its flickering synth-filled second drop, complete with another Fat Man Scoop cameo. Sam Bruno's voice here is even more ethereal in this version, especially during that middle section. Worth mentioning is the music video for this song contains a young Anya Taylor-Joy. Anyway, time for the second official Red Lips remix. Several months after the initial Skrillex remix, now in 2016, Dillon Francis released a collaborative remix alongside Skrillex for what he called a rebirth. Dillon has a reputation for calling his remixes rebirths, so that's why it's counted here. For those who don't know who Dillon Francis is, he's a longtime friend of Sonny and very established DJ himself, who's partially known for his music fitting into the EDM subgenre of Moonbottin', a sound characterized by thick bass lines, dramatic builds, and fast drums. On this remix, he brings that Moonbottin' sound, while Skrillex's new input is less obvious. This version has its tempo dropped, vocals chopped, and its drums sped way up. Not all the new drums land for me though, especially the ones near the middle. Interesting remix, especially with the rebirth branding, but not a favorite of mine. Yet again, we have another Skrillex remix of a Skrillex remix. That'd be the 2015 remix of his song Stranger, which was originally on his 2014 album Recess. Featuring on the original is singer Sam Drew and artist Kilogram, who's actually one of the members of the previously discussed Milo and Otis. When it comes to the original Stranger, it's amazing. Maybe one of my favorite tracks on the album. The initial build is slow, but it comes to a satisfying conclusion. Here in the dark, I can see who you are. I see so clearly. Parts of the song are a bit strange, but it's the singing. It's so damn earwormy. Beat of the heart just stops and starts. With how much I love the original, I couldn't even imagine how he'd top it. Upon actually listening to the remix, I was blown away by the direction he decided to go with here. Instead of doubling down on the dubstep elements, he goes for a way more somber, more relaxing tone. All the love I gave you came and you took it all. Collaborating alongside Skrillex on the remix is the very unique Canadian duo Tennyson, who make very hard to describe but interesting music, and also solo singer White Sea, who's most notable for being a member of the electronic group M83. The story behind the song explains the new, more melancholic vibe. As part of ALSO's holiday charity event, this song was released for free with the goal of raising awareness to several charities to which people then could go donate to. Getting back into the remix, it's a tearjerker. The new handling of Sam's vocals here is even more angelic. It's really moving. Whenever you're near me. This couldn't be farther away from a traditional Skrillex remix. There's no drops, it's just a piano-led slow ballad. The added background singer adds this whole new heavenly feel to the song. It's really impossible to not get goosebumps. Though I prefer the original, I have mad respect for Sonny giving one of his own songs this drastic of a 180. As we officially enter 2016, we have another remix with an interesting backstory. That'd be the remix of the Canadian EDM duo Toro Toro's song, Make a Move. The original song was actually the group's debut single on the Ausla label, and it actually released on the previously discussed spring compilation. Before we get into the remix's origins, let's first discuss the original. I feel like I've been saying this a lot, but it's just decent. By far my favorite part is the singing from the Canadian singer Kai, who's actually notable for being on the previously mentioned Jack U album and for having her lines written by Skrillex as seen in the credits. A demo for the original song actually contained completely different vocals, which were then switched to Kai once Skrillex stepped in, even before the remix still. The drops on this bass track are really not for me. They contain some pretty harsh sound choices. Shifting to the remix, if we're getting technical, this remix actually released first in 2015, where out of nowhere, Red Bull released this remix as part of their 20 Before 16 music series, where it was a limited download of only 1,000. Then in January of 2016, we got the official remix, which released as part of the Make a Move remix collection. Though to fans' surprise, this version is actually slightly different than the Red Bull version, many say for the worst. Off the bat, I'll say I'm fine with both versions of the remix. When we're talking the official one though, it's definitely an improvement from the dicey bass track. I definitely don't love the drop, but I respect its sound diversity and unrelenting pace. Differences from the Red Bull version include slightly changed drums and an altered second drop. I do like the new added samples, the new voice distortions, and the weird new sound effects tossed in.
That almost scared me.
This is for sure a hype track, but to me it's just okay. I swear I'm still a big Skrillex fan, believe me. Wrapping up 2016 is yet again another unique situation, this time with a remix of the song Show Me Love by American band 100 Waters. Similar to many of the previously discussed artists, 100 Waters is again another group on Skrillex's Ausla label. With that being the case, a remix collaboration is not surprising at all, but the song he chose from them to remix, very unexpected choice though. The original Show Me Love is an around a minute long, super minimal song that only contains some layered singing.
Don't let me show cruelty.
Singer Nicole Miglis claimed the song was literally just a journal entry she wrote years prior, which makes a lot of sense. There's little to say about the song. It appears to just be a somber intro track for their 2014 album The Moon Rang Like a Bell.
Show me love.
When going into the remix, for my first time actually, I was very curious where he'd go with it. Right away, Skrillex adds 3 new featuring artists to this version of the song, first with Ghanaian singer Moses Sumney, Chicago rapper Chance the Rapper, with additional arrangements handled by producer Robin Hannibal. This is a tricky one. Calling it a remix is a bit of a stretch. The entire original, very short Show Me Love is here as the chorus, which makes it more of a sample than the basis for a remix. A lot of times all the weird naming conventions are for marketing reasons, hence the loose remix title here. The song is totally fine, I guess. I'm really not trying to be overly negative because I've been a little harsh on some of the previous songs, so I'll just say, not my thing.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step.
Around the time this was made, it was when Skrillex really started doing more behind-the-scenes pop productions, so this remix's existence makes a lot of sense. To be honest, this is a song, to me, that sounds like a very forgettable, sad pop radio song.
Pop out, city I always talk about, what I rap about. I see you.
Not much to say on this one. Major skip in my opinion. I do gotta say I can get behind the positive sentiment of the song, but this is just not the sound I go to Skrillex for. Also, I gotta mention, if you need a quick dose of cringe, make sure to check out the Colbert appearance for this song. I'm not talking about Skrillex, the cringe is all Steven.
It's time for the Monologue remix featuring Skrillex with a special appearance by Chance the Rapper.
Small toast that you can see through a microscope.
Bringing in the new year, 2017 is a remix that brought together two GOATs. Of course, the man of the hour Skrillex, but also one of, if not my favorite rapper of all time, Kendrick Lamar, for a remix of his mega hit, Humble. Most people probably already know of the iconic original, but many might not know that Skrillex took a crack at it later the same year it was released. Starting with the original Humble, despite it being super overplayed, it's an undeniable banger.
I remember syrup sandwiches and crime allowances.
The unique beat, the quality bars, and that super catchy chorus, come on, it's a fat bop.
Show me something natural like ass with some stretch marks. Be humble, sit down, be humble.
Though I don't love the idea of Skrillex remixing a song this popular, the fact that it's Kendrick, I was open to it. We'll listen to the remix, it's pretty damn good. This version is surprisingly fresh sounding. The new beat is fire. The bass on it is booming.
Sit down.
This is again a remix with a fan favorite demo. Before the release, Skrillex would play an early version of the song, loved for its goofy sample.
How much am I? Don't panic, I'm the
Skrillex later stated that the beloved I'm a Drummer was dropped sadly because of sample clearance issues. There's a lot of cool ideas present here. The distorted voice, the drum and bass, the funny lyric chopping, and all sorts of weird sound effects.
I'm so fucking sick and tired of the Photoshop. Hey, this that great thing about the AV got the TED Talk. Hey,
all up, bitches. All up, bitches.
sit down.
The origin of the Humble remix is interesting because Skrillex initially made it as a bootleg remix, meaning non-official, no stems were used, no permission, but eventually it got back to Kendrick and his team, they liked it and reached out to make it official. It's possible his team heard the live version that fellow EDM megastar Martin Garrix played at one of his shows, only after Sonny gave him a copy of it, not knowing he'd ever play it. With Humble, we finally got another solid remix. Now let's just hope that DNA remix ends up being real.
Waterfalls.
On Leak.cx.
Waterfalls.
On Leak.cx.
Waterfalls.
On Leak.cx.
The only other remix to release in 2017 is another collaborative one, this time alongside American producer Ronnie J for the remix of the Akali song Babylon, featuring another favorite rapper of mine, Denzel Curry. What you need to know about each is Ronnie J is a predominantly hip-hop producer who's worked with a long list of notable names, including Denzel several times. Mr. Denzel Curry is a Florida-based rapper known for his lyrical talent and unique take on the hip-hop genre, and Akali is a decent-sized Canadian producer who, again, got his start on Skrillex's Ausla label. With the original, it's a unique EDM and hip-hop combination. The beat Denzel raps over, provided by Akali, is not the typical instrumental you'd hear a rapper on.
I can read it with telepathy. You making me sick. You making me sick.
Denzel here is fantastic. He rarely disappoints. And the low-key yet grandiose beat underneath him, also solid.
Click. It is an ultimate marathon from the land, which is the city of Babylon.
For the remix, it released alongside two others a few months later, and to really no one's surprise, it's a lot better. Skrillex and Ronnie add some much needed heavy bass to the track. This is notable for being a remix that's quite a bit shorter than the original, nearly by a minute. When it comes to the drops, they're not revolutionary, but have some unique sounds within. You've got some high voice-like synths, some occasional sirens, and a Scary Monsters callback. Again, I'm gonna repeat, I like when the original song is a different genre other than EDM and Skrillex turns it into that, but this is an alright example of him just upgrading an EDM song. The added drums and the more amplified production here, I think matches Denzel's fast flow and high energy a lot better. This is far from the catchiest remix ever, but overall, it's pretty decent. I just respect the fact that even after all these remixes that he's made, he still finds a way to create new sounds that feel fresh, and this is a great example of that. Next up is the Skrillex remix of the 2018 Pendulum song, The Island Part 1 Dawn. Pendulum is an Australian electronic rock band who also contains the two members that make up electro house duo Knife Party, that being Mark Sire and Gareth McGrillen. Little did I know that Mark is the vocalist on two of the most classic Deadmau5 songs that you've probably heard. Anyway, this Skrillex remix is a rare example of the original song and the Skrillex remix being released officially several years apart from one another. The original The Island released first as a single in 2010 in two parts actually, the normal Dawn version and the DJ Edit Part 2 Dusk version. The remix didn't get released till 8 years after the original as part of the band's compilation album of classic Pendulum song remixes titled The Reworks. This song and group get even more interesting because when this remix first dropped, Skrillex stated that it was a pleasure to work on the song because this band, Pendulum, was one of his leading inspirations in the beginning to become a DJ. He also played an edit of this song, The Island, years before he worked on the remix. Diving into the original, right away I was getting strong Fleetwood Mac vibes. On a more serious note, The Island is a very straightforward, inoffensive EDM song with some great vocals on top.
What are you waiting for? Just surrender when everything is said and done.
The song is a bit on the basic side, but overall an enjoyable listen. For the remix, Skrillex decided to rework the Dawn version, aka the untouched one, and what we got is pretty refreshing. A lot of Mark's singing is kept in this version while also adding new elements like new punchy drums, bits of reggae, and new pop-like drops. Online, this remix appears to be a little bit of a divisive one. Some fans do like the more future-based sound he went with here, while others wanted a more dubstep direction. I personally like the new direction he went with here. I think it really has that modern Skrillex feel. The new way the vocals are handled, the glitchy voice chops, there's a lot to love here. This is for sure one of the better new remixes. I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Pendulum's stuff because this was pretty great. The second and final remix to drop in 2018 is the Sicko Mode remix, released a few months after the Travis Scott original. Never have I been more shocked to see a remix happen than this one right here. Similar to Humble, this is a giant hip-hop song for Skrillex to tackle. It's also similar with how the track came to be. Travis said that he saw a video of Skrillex playing around in the studio with a bootleg version of the song and decided to reach out to make it official. They actually got together in the studio to make the song, which doesn't always happen with every remix. Starting off with the original, most already know it. It's been memed to death at this point, but you'd be lying if you said it still didn't slap.
Popping with the crew, I just landed in. Chase B mixes pop like Jamba Joe's.
It's really an incredible song with crazy bass, epic beat switches, and some subtle sneak disses.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Checks over stripes, yeah. That's what I like.
For the Skrillex version, it's a very tame one. The song remains largely intact on this version, with almost the entire original track being in the remix. Some sound effects are added, some parts get distorted, but overall it's nothing too extreme.
Was off the Remy, had a bad boost. Having a 305, bitches treat me like I'm Uncle Luke. Had to slot.
Many people consider this more of an edit over traditional remix because only slight alterations are made to the original song instead of drastic ones like in a remix. Despite me agreeing with that argument, this does contain a new drop, making it a remix. A wild drop too, one full of chops. A bit of niche controversy surrounded the song before release involving the artist Ekali. It's a long story, but he had a demo version of the song, people wanted to hear it, he didn't want to play the whole thing, and eventually we did get the demo version, and many people still prefer that over the one we officially got. In an interview, Skrillex discussed how this song was pretty hard to remix because it has all those beat switches, which makes sense. I mean, the original song is already pretty experimental structure-wise.
Out like a light, like a light, like a light. We back on the road, they jumping off no parachute. Yeah, shorty in the back.
Although not changing much, this is a fun take on a song we all love but are a little tired of. Believe it or not, as of now, 2019 is the final year where we got an official Skrillex remix release. That being the remix for the American singer Kelsey Lou's song, Due West. A song that Skrillex actually co-produced himself before the remix in 2018. Due West originally released as a single to then be included on her debut album Blood, with the remix landing on her EP Blood Transfusion, which housed remixes of songs from that debut album. For the original, it's fine. It's kind of a low-key R&B number.
Just cruise as far as I can go to California.
Kelsey's voice combined with the song's overall nighttime drive kind of vibe hits hard.
Do it all for you. You're holding on to me.
When talking the remix, it's a hidden gem. I like the original well enough, but the remix is a spot hitter. It might be one of the best, if not best, new remix. Skrillex has added house production here with the new drums and slightly increased speed. Banger status.
Worship the ground that you walk down below. A list of all the reasons why I weather through what do it.
The drop here is far from his normal, but it's great. It's subtle, vibey, and bassy. This might just be my favorite pop song that Skrillex has ever touched. There's just something about it. If this ends up being the last official remix from Skrillex, what a way to end it off. Now, I doubt it'll be his final official remix, but it's just been a while, and I feel like this era of his career is sort of over. These days, he seems a lot more focused on his music and producing behind the scenes for others. I can see him releasing music that might fit the definition of a remix, but not actually using the remix tag because it seems a little outdated. He's just such an established artist now that it seems like it would be a step down to do a remix, kind of. What he might release these days that would be deemed a remix would probably go under a different name for marketing reasons. With all that said, now it's time to dive deep into even more Skrillex remixes, ones of the unreleased variety. By unreleased, I mean the song in question is thought to be real and made by Skrillex, but never officially released on any digital or physical media or platform. With that being the case, some of these were maybe never meant to see the light of day and are potentially unfinished, so a major asterisk needs to be thrown on all of these when analyzing them. Please don't take my critiques on these all too seriously. Many of these are said to have released on one of his many MySpace accounts, but I didn't count that as official because there's so little proof of it. Also, with how much unreleased Skrillex music is floating around, it's hard to properly label everything. An average listener might think these terms right here are also deemed remixes, but for me, wording is very important, so the song had to be at least one time called a remix. There's many leaked demos, bootleg recordings, live performance rips out there that fans deem remixes, but a lot of times it's just too hard to tell, so we're going to be focusing on the most well-known and confirmed ones. Despite some of these having questionable origins, they're just too interesting to not discuss. So let's finally get into the crazy world of unreleased Skrillex remixes in the rough release / leak order. Starting off is what I believe to be the actual first somewhat official remix, that being the Go All The Way Into The Twilight remix. Originally by artist Perry Farrell, who's most known for being the frontman of both Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros. To set it up, the original song was made for the official soundtrack for the 2008 film Twilight, while the remix was just posted to one of Sonny's early MySpaces, likely before he even went by Skrillex. The original also way later landed on a Rarity album from Perry Farrell in 2021. In that interview I played a while back where he claims the Library remix was his first, and he also mentions the Perry Farrell remix, he later goes on to say he doesn't remember which one actually came first. He then goes on to say that the Twilight crew reached out and asked him to make it for the club circuits instead of for the official soundtrack, so you kind of could deem this song official, but it's dicey. But knowing that this song was commissioned for the 2008 film, I think it's safe to say this was the first remix, beating out the 2009 Library one. Right away, I knew this wasn't for me. It's a rough listen. The vocals here are really terrible, I'm sorry. Combined with the boring pop production, extremely not my taste. Shifting to the remix, this is again an example of Sonny flipping a bad song into an alright one. The remix is still very dated, especially again with those god-awful vocals, but this time it's listenable. That early driving bass line almost saves the track though. Many sections of the bass song are kept in here, making this sound more like the original with a slightly harder bite over traditional remix. Though not incorporating that beloved early Skrillex dubstep sound, this Sonny remix ain't bad. Next we have the 2009 remix of the Snoop Dogg song Sensual Seduction, a bit of a fan favorite from way back in the day. This surprisingly is one of the few classic remixes that completely passed me by because this was a new discovery for me. Snoop Dogg is an artist that really needs no introduction. He's a living legend known for his pioneering gangster rap music, although he does experiment with new sounds from time to time, and this song is a prime example of that. Sensual Seduction, aka Sexual Eruption, as it was later called when tossed onto his album Ego Trippin', is a song all about orgasms. And it's pretty damn good. This is a major sound departure for Snoop Dogg, but I strangely love it. You've got those smooth background synths, some funny lyrics, and Snoop doing a little auto-tune singing.
There wasn't no need for me to rush the bus one, cause I wanted her to have an eruption. She gon' get hers before I.
For the remix, it again is another MySpace release, this time with no proof of any official connection though. It is very likely that he just found the acapella for this song and used it to make this bootleg remix because he's admitted to doing that before.
It's pretty easy to remix tracks these days. You can just go online and find the acapella, you just type in acapella and usually somehow they've leaked it out, you know? And that's all I need anyway, I don't use any other music, I just create a whole new track.
It's also very unlikely that he was commissioned late for this remix because the date of the original song and the original remix collection just don't line up with the Skrillex remix. Anyway, for the Skrillex version, this is another tame interpretation. The drop does get a little hectic near the end, but overall it's smoother than you'd expect. The drums here hit way harder, the bass is way more in your face, and he even shakes up those synth melodies from the original.
Smoke us a cigarette and go back to sleep, sleep. Sensual seduction.
Though not 100% proven, even though Sonny used the sensual seduction clean a cappella, many sources say he actually mistitled the remix, calling it sexual seduction, which is actually a combination of both official Snoop titles. Though I appreciate the cranked energy and new dubstep elements on this remix, I just have a soft spot for the original. I think I prefer it. Looking at it now though, it's pretty cool how Sonny did this bootleg remix back in the day, and now he kind of officially worked with Snoop Dogg on a song, so it came full circle. Continuing with this string of classics is the unreleased remix of the Rob Zombie song Sick Bubblegum from 2009. Rob Zombie is a man of many talents, but is primarily known for his solo work and being the frontman for metal band White Zombie. Despite many knowing and loving this remix, its origins are very unknown. Before we get into that, let's quickly cover the original. When it comes to Rob Zombie's music, I'm a fan, I'm just not a giant one. This song is pretty good, I just prefer his older stuff. Even though the lyrics are goofy, the guitar work is great and the energy is killer. Now for the iconic remix, it's easily one of the best ones from this era. I have a ton of nostalgia connected to it. I have the song listed as 2009 because of the proof provided by old Skrillex collaborator Dan Sena. What's proved a lot of Leak's legitimacy is this infamous iTunes screenshot here provided by Dan, where you can see Sick Bubblegum listed even with the Versus title, similar to a lot of previous songs. But what's very interesting is most video leaks for this song were uploaded in 2011, but on the screenshot the date is listed 3 days after the original 2009 single released, meaning he either made it really fast after the release or was more likely commissioned to make it. Who knows, but this might have been official. Some say this remix leak came from Sonny's infamously stolen laptop in 2011, others say it was posted to MySpace, but we really don't know. We do have a video of him playing it live though in 2011, so it's pretty safe to assume it's legit. Getting back into the track, you have some crazy vocal chops into some catchy synths into a head-banging drop. I adore this remix for how it maintains the necessary elements from the original, but at the same time sounds completely new and different. Not only are the intense claps, strange samples, cranked pace, and distorted vocals all appreciated, the slower sections are also incredible. This is without a doubt an all-time great. It's really a shame we never saw an official release for it. Now here's a remix I heavily considered omitting from discussion, but it's just too classic to leave off. I'm talking the 2010 unreleased, unfinished remix of the Sonny Moore song Turmoil. This one has a complicated background that I'll attempt to catch you up on quickly. As many know, Skrillex released music as Sonny before the EDM fame, whether it was for his EP, his canceled album, or a single. One of those singles being the song Turmoil, which we do have proof was released on MySpace in 2009. That Turmoil then resurfaced in 2010 when Skrillex started debuting what most believe is a remix of the song. This new Turmoil quickly became a fan favorite, with everyone anticipating its official release, which never came. This is another beloved remix that is thought to be lost because of the stolen laptop incident in 2011. Before that maybe happened though, Skrillex did allow an unfinished version of the remix to appear on Canadian DJ Excision's SoundCloud mix, and later that same unfinished version leaked in higher quality. But where it gets dicey is if the song is more of a VIP or the intended final version of the original song or a remix. I'll explain. Okay, so there's the MySpace Turmoil, which is seemingly complete, and then a year later he debuts a dubstep version of the song but only uses the chorus and the pre-drop vocals from the original. But when he plays the song live, he refers to it as a new song. Also on the Excision mix, it's listed as just Turmoil, no remix tag. Maybe he just wanted to incorporate old vocals into a new song, like he did with First of the Year with his Sonny Moore song Equinox. We don't know for sure. I know this is all technical and nerdy, but I'm just explaining why I had a hard time counting it. Anyway, let's get into the original Sonny Moore Turmoil. This is a pretty hardcore song for Sonny. A lot of his earlier stuff is way more mellow, but I dig this vibe. It almost is nu metal sounding in parts. This is another Hot Topic type banger that is already really electronic before the remix. For the quote-unquote Skrillex remix, it's amazing. It has that golden era Skrillex sound. The contrast of the harsher synths with the lighter portions of the song is just beautiful. Maybe I'm just a sucker for this era of Skrillex, but this drop is incredible. It really sucks that we only have this unfinished version of the song. It's pretty short. If Skrillex was to release this back in the day, man, it would have had some potential. 2011 is the year we were supposed to see yet again another Skrillex Gaga collab, but again, all we have is another unfinished remix, this time for the Gaga hit Born This Way. Now, for this remix, we know it was supposed to be official, but things didn't go to plan. Similar to the Bad Romance and Alejandro remixes, Skrillex had a planned spot on the Born This Way remix collections. In order to build hype, Interscope exec Dave Rain posted a short snippet of the remix on SoundCloud. When the song was heard by fans, it quickly earned the name of Died This Way for its extreme vibe departure, but Skrillex later debunked that this was purely a fan title, never planned to be official. But after that previously mentioned stolen laptop incident occurred in 2011, Skrillex went to Facebook to say that the song was on that laptop and instead provided a link of an edited version of the SoundCloud Interscope teaser, signifying that it probably was never going to release. A full version of the remix has still never resurfaced. There is a more complete version that exists that was leaked from Skrillex's DJ friend 12th Planet when his Dropbox got hacked in 2016. Not 100% confirmed, but with Skrillex now off of the Remix Collection project, it is thought that Zed took his place because of his connection with that same Interscope exec. So yeah, crazy story. Even though we just have the 2-minute version, I think we can still analyze it, but first, let's go over the original. Similar to the previous Gaga songs, you've probably heard this before. It's another banger complete with a positive message and a catchy chorus. Though super played out, I can respect a well-crafted pop song from time to time. Now for the infamous remix, I think it's safe to say it's his craziest ever. The sounds Skrillex interjects into the Gaga original are absolutely bonkers. The intro leaves you thinking it's gonna be low-key EDM pop, and then the drop hits and you're quickly disproven. The drop is incredibly abrasive, not in a bad way, but in an entertainingly insane kind of way. The screams utilized here make for a really unique twist on the original. I love the inaccessible, unapologetic, off-the-wall nature of this remix. It's gutsy. The lack of release with this one extra sucks because after the whole incident, he claimed that he was planning on actually just removing the vocals and replacing them with synths for an original song, which is a bummer. We don't get that anymore, but maybe we'll get a full leak one day. Skipping ahead to 2013, we have a juicy one. The bootleg remix of Blawan's song Why They Hide Their Bodies Under My Garage. Again, bootleg meaning Skrillex didn't have permission to make or perform the remix. Blawan is an English DJ primarily known for the popularity of the original Why They Hide Their Bodies Under My Garage. Beginning with that original, it was this song that brought Blawan from underground to a notable name in the scene. After the release of Why They Hide Their Bodies in 2012, it blew up to a point where Blawan wanted to distance himself from the song to avoid being typecast for the sound. Then around a year after the original, Skrillex debuted his remix of the song as part of his BBC Radio 1 Essential Mix. Then immediately after the remix's premiere, Blawan went on Twitter to tweet this, many think as a negative response to the Skrillex remix. It appears most people, including fans, agree the original is superior, with some calling the remix an unwanted, point-missing bells and whistles mix. In order to determine that, let's compare the two, starting with the original. I'm quite a fan of the original. It has this eerie, distorted vibe that really sucks you in. Its dark, minimalist structure is the main selling point of the song. The repeated line used for the title is very surprisingly a contorted sample of the Fuji song How Many Mics. Switching to the Skrillex remix, I get why people prefer the more ambient, simplistic original, but this is still solid. Though the original is hard to beat, the build and drop here are still satisfying. The unique energy is still maintained in my opinion. Despite the remix catching hate, it appears that Blawan and Skrillex might be friends now. Skrillex is still playing the original song in part of his sets, the two of them have been seen in the studio together, and they're even set to perform with one another coming up, so who knows, we might get an official release for this one. Now this next remix, or should I say remixes, is another unique situation. 2014 was the year Skrillex started playing a remix of the English EDM duo Gorgon City's song Imagination, featuring vocals from singer Katie Mendita. I say remixes plural because two Skrillex remixes exist for this song in the form of live recording rips. Now there are popular remakes of the two versions, but we're going to stick to the live recording versions of Skrillex playing them himself. Now it's not 100% confirmed that there were two different separate remixes planned for release, we just know he started playing a more house sounding remix referred to as the garage version, and then a later more advanced trap version. It's possible that the second trap version was the more finished product planned for release, but it also might be a Birdie Nom Nom going in situation where he planned on releasing two separate remixes. We really don't know. When he first played the trap version, he referred to it as a new song, so maybe he was planning 2 separate releases. I mean, it's just not confirmed. The multiple version and cancellation of release was somewhat confirmed when Sonny responded back to a Twitter user talking about how the files were corrupted for the Imagination remixes. Anyway, getting into the original, it's not bad. That bass line combined with Katie's catchy repeating line of the use, good luck getting that out of your head. For the remixes, let's start with the garage version. First thing you'll notice is the added drums, especially during the build-up. When the drop hits, it's a tad one-dimensional, but it's still decent. The second drop though, I love his entry into it. The slow wubs with the delayed drums hit. Now for the trap version, the drop is handled very differently. It's quite a bit more hectic. It honestly kind of sounds like the Harlem Shake, honestly. Skrillex even goes crazier the second time around. The diversity here is wild. I think I prefer the more advanced trap version because of the variety of sound present here. We're coming up on 10 years since these songs first debuted, and the remix EP is long since released, so it's likely these will never see the light of day, but they're cool pieces of history. Moving to 2015, we have our first unreleased collaborative remix for the song We Winnin' by rapper-singer Dej Loaf. Joining Skrillex on the remix is Ausla artist Miha. This is a rather obscure one, but we do have the full leak for the song, so I think it's worth discussing. There isn't much history behind this one besides the original song coming out in 2015, with the remix first being heard as part of a Miha live show later that same year. Getting right into the original, it's a rough one. The vocals, I'm sorry, but they're a big no from me. Not to be overly negative, but the beat is very flat and the chorus is whack. Now for the remix, it's 100% an improvement, but you can only save a track like this so much. The drop does have some nice feel-good energy, I gotta give it that. Some fans believe this to be a bootleg remix, but Dej Loaf has been seen alongside Skrillex and Miha in the Show Me Love music video, so they might have some sort of relationship together, and at some point this might have been legit. We don't know. I'd be curious which parts of the remix are more Miha and which parts are more Skrillex. If I was to guess on Sonny's contribution, it would be that middle drum breakdown portion. This is by no means garbage, it's just boring and generic compared to the past anthems. I definitely consider this one of my least favorite remixes, but they did choose to not release it, so good on them. Continuing with the unreleased remixes is one for the song No Money by Swedish EDM duo Galantis. The song itself was already a large hit, so it's no surprise Skrillex got involved. The original song features uncredited vocals from singer Reese Bullimore. Sonny debuted the song at Somerset 2016, where before he played the song he claimed he made it on the way there, so it might not be the most serious remix he's ever made. Skrillex did end up playing it 2 more times though on the Ausla radio show, so we have high quality versions from that. The release for this one seemed unlikely right away because he wasn't a part of the No Money remix collection, and it appears he just gave the song to Marshmello, who then later played an altered version of the song live, also in 2016, and that's the last we heard of it. Starting with the Galantis original, it's fine. It's that sort of bubblegum pop EDM in the vein of Marshmello, which is a sound I'm not a fan of.
You can call me what you wanna, I ain't giving you $1 this time.
It's listenable, but crazy generic. I know a lot of people like this song, but this was a one and done listen for me.
You might knock me down, you might knock me down.
Now for the remix, it's not so loved in the Skrillex community. Many make fun of it for its kids bop-like sound.
Knock me down, but I will get back up again.
The vocals here are sped up and the drop is of course altered, but the whole thing just isn't too remarkable.
Not this.
If Skrillex truly just made this for fun, that's totally fine. Again, we're not critiquing these like we would an official release. Still, it's just a little shaky. This is one of the few unreleased remixes that if we never see a final version, I won't be losing sleep over it. Rounding out the notable unreleased Skrillex remixes is again another collaborative venture, this time with German producer Virtual Riot, who again is another artist with ties to Ausla. The original released in two versions, an English version and a Japanese version, but for the remix we're only going to be talking about the English version. The song and remix have an interesting history. The original Face My Fears is already a Skrillex collaboration with Japanese-American pop singer Hikaru Utada. The song was made to be the opening theme for the video game Kingdom Hearts 3 in 2019, which is pretty cool knowing Sunny is a big fan of the game series, as proven on his 2006 MySpace. Originally, Utada reached out to Skrillex for a remix for the closing theme to the game, but he instead just wanted to make a completely new song. Now, depending on who you ask for the remix, this could maybe be considered officially released. I'll explain why. The song has been floating around as live recordings and unfinished leaks since 2019, but in 2023, Virtual Riot himself posted a download for the song on his Twitter, so it's kind of official, kinda not. When listening to the original, right away you'll be caught off guard by the beautiful combination of piano and Utada's heavenly vocals.
Should I take a leave? Son of nothing to.
Similar to many previous songs, the bass song actually already has a drop, and it's an amazing one at that. The vocals are pitched and altered with this oscillating-like effect that not only sounds awesome, but is still decipherable. Many praise the original for its future bass sound, similar to the previous Pendulum remix. Switching over to the collab with Virtual Riot, many elements of the original are kept the same until some drum and bass starts to come in, followed by 4 drop fakeouts, which are a little annoying but successful at building hype. During one of the fakeouts though, we get a classic Skrillex callback. What's also worth a quick mention is the demo remix that exists where Skrillex is alongside instead Benzi and Kavian. It's pretty obscure, but it's notable for the different way the drop is chopped. Back to the Virtual Riot and Skrillex version, most of the new changes are welcomed except for when we finally get to that highly anticipated drop. It's got some cool ideas going on, but it doesn't match the song's established tone in my opinion.
Get your hands up!
I'm glad this one saw a release though. Official or not, I'm a fan. For time's sake, I'm going to quickly go over just a few more remixes that I couldn't not discuss in a definitive analysis like this. We won't go crazy in depth on these like we did with the previous remixes, but we will go over why they're still interesting and worthy of discussion. Now, before you freak out, no, Skrillex did not really remix 2 of the most famous Aphex Twin songs. Instead, around 2004 to 2006, Skrillex posted what he called remixes of these 2 Aphex Twin tracks on his MySpace, labeled as Candlelit Remixes. What they actually are is just basic piano covers of the 2 iconic tracks. I assume the candlelit tag is because of their chill acoustic nature. Also, if the sources are correct, these were released during the short period of time when he went by DJ Skrillex, meaning they also might technically be the first ever remixes, beating out the Perry Farrell by a couple years. There's very little concrete info on these. There's some proof of their existence out there, but most deem them lost media. The two versions you can find that are floating around are thought to be actually remakes, not the originals. I was informed about a crazy potential story behind these two that, if it's true, is super cool. With all the mentions of them online and Sonny's very vocal love for Aphex Twin, these existing at one period of time is very likely. This is another 2006 era MySpace remix, but it has way more legitimacy. As mentioned several times, Skrillex was at one point a member of From First to Last, and with their classic track Emily, Skrillex actually decided to remix it, calling it the Toy Shop Remix. I assume the Toy Shop name is because the guitars from the original song are replaced here with this new tinny sounding artificial guitar, maybe toy-like, but it could be something completely else, who knows. The only other big difference with this new version is some added drums. Lastly, there's a video online of Skrillex actually working on this remix back in the day on Fruity Loops. How awesome is that? For this entry, I'm lumping together two fan favorite unreleased remixes, the Skrillex Drum Step remix and the collaborative Skrillex and 12th Planet remix of his studio album song All I Ask of You off of Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. Some might think these deserve a more thorough discussion, but I can only discuss so many unreleased Skrillex remixes of Skrillex remixes, I had to cut some for time. Starting with the solo remix, during the one time it was played live, Skrillex claimed he made the song when he was bored on a plane, hence the commonly known name, the 3-hour Airplane Drum Step remix. The song is notable for adding many dubstep elements to an otherwise mellow song. Also for sampling Russell Brand and Get Him to the Greek.
Fucking you up!
This remix is thought to be leaked first, strangely from a ringtone website, to then later get leaked in full. In concept, the 12th Planet remix is the same, where dubstep elements are added to a song that didn't originally have many. Both remixes are seemingly complete when they leaked in full, but never saw releases for unknown reasons. 12th Planet did rework his remix into a song he did with producer Anti-Serum called Bass Salt. And lastly, there was a third dubstep remix of the song that was also only played once, but that also didn't see release. Another one you might be surprised to not see before now is the remix of Dancing on My Own by Robin. This is easily one of the most beloved unreleased Skrillex songs because it has that 2011 golden era sound. The reason it's in the honorable mentions is because it's not even proven to be a remix. The song contains vocals from both Dancing on My Own and her song Call Your Girlfriend, which never happens in a standard remix, so it's thought the vocals are more placeholders. Based on the few recordings of it being played live, fans don't even think Skrillex had the official stems for the song, further debunking its legitimacy. The previously discussed Sonny friend 12th Planet, he even played a version live too, but the song actually never leaked. All we have is those recordings. The version people listen to mostly these days is cleaned up set rips or popular remakes. There's even rumors of this at one time being real, but Robin rejected it, but nothing is 100% known about it at all. In 2015, a remix was played of the Boys Noise song Midnight, a remix by the previously discussed duo Dog Blood, which consists of producer Boys Noise and Skrillex. Sound-wise, it's what you would expect from the duo. This one's not too crazy, it's just a Dog Blood remix of a Boys Noise song that was first heard in 2015, but it doesn't look like it's planned for release because Boys Noise has alluded to that several times. He even just called it a DJ tool. The song also never leaked, all we have is live recordings and some popular well-made remakes. Now this one has a juicy history. In 2015, Skrillex debuted a remix of the song Neoprene by a smaller DJ named LA4L, aka this long name, with his real name being Kevin. Skrillex used the remix as his opener for his Ultra 2015 set. The following year, the remix actually leaked in the same unfinished nature it was first played in. Kevin eventually got his hands on the remix and told fans he's going to officially release it, but in the same unfinished way. If that wasn't already suspicious, Kevin put the remix as the intro track to the Neoprene Mixture mixtape, to which then it got immediately taken down by Sonny's label because he didn't have permission. Kevin then replaced the song with an original edit, which takes strong influence from the Skrillex version. Even the other versions of Neoprene on the mixtape appear to take a lot of ideals from the Skrillex original mix. Kevin re-released the Skrillex version, this time under a retitled name of Live Edit, with the YouTube upload having a description alluding to you know who, but then later he just changed the title back to Skrillex Remix, so yeah. The whole thing is really interesting. It appears to be a small artist who was lucky enough to be recognized by Skrillex, but then took advantage of it. I know I've been saying this a lot, but this is another interesting one. In 2020, Skrillex jumped on fellow producer Kenny Beats' live stream to play a version of Jack Harlow's mega hit What's Poppin' that he made, but he just called it a DJ Tool, which is an unfinished edit of a song, usually just for live play, that's really never intended for official release. Later in that same live stream, Kenny actually calls up Jack and tells him that Skrillex was just on and played a remix of his song What's Poppin', and this was his reaction.
That shit was hard too. He needs to drop that joint. Tell him to run that shit. Text him, say, yo, I'm ready. Like, just let him know whatever needs to happen, I want it to happen.
Do you know him? I'll link you if you don't know him.
I don't know him for shit.
Oh,
please.
I'll link you. I'm gonna link you right now on text.
Fast forward in the year, Skrillex gives a newer, very different version of the song to multi-time collaborator DJ Slink to play on Diplo's radio show. On this new remix, you can actually hear Jack name drop the GOAT.
Skrillex, what's poppin'? Skrillex.
The version ripped off this stream is the last one we heard, with it looking like there's no official release planned. The whole story is interesting because it appears the remix brought them together and led to Skrillex producing a song on Jack's debut album. Then finally, we have the collaborative remix Skrillex did alongside producer Softest Hard for the Billie Eilish song When the Party's Over. This potential remix was first played live in 2020. Some call this a remix, some call it a DJ Tool. It's just hard to tell because not much of the Billie original is kept in. Many think the vocals are just placeholders and this was never intended for official release. The song was played a few more times live and eventually did leak in full, so at least we have that. Here's a short list of songs that many might consider remixes, but for one reason or another, I decided to not count them. Underneath each, I put the reason why they were omitted from this video series. These first ones here are songs that I was very close to counting but decided against it because of wording reasons. Also, here's a few songs that some sources call remixes of Sonny Moore songs, but I'd call them more alternate mixes. Also, here's a few more songs that are probably considered more VIPs or edits or songs with placeholder vocals. Again, you don't really know what some of the official labels for these songs are. And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge the songs that many consider remixes that ended up on studio albums. These tracks here, by definition, fit a remix, but because they're on a studio album, I decided to not discuss them. I'm not going to spend too long on these, but as promised, here's my personal top 10 favorite Skrillex remixes. As you can see, I have a strong bias to the 2010 through 2012 era of Skrillex. Around that time is when I first became a massive fan, so it's going to be hard to shake the nostalgia connected to all those songs. And even with the newer remixes, I still think these songs are some of his best and most unique work. This top 10 consists of all officially released remixes except for Sick Bubblegum because I couldn't not include that. It was a personal favorite of mine back in the day. Anyway, there you go. That's my top 10. Let me know yours. There you have it. Every Skrillex remix, the official, the not, and all the rest. Before I get out of here, I gotta give some shout outs to the few people who assisted in the making of this series. First off, thanks to Reddit user Clocktown. They assisted me in various EDM terms that I didn't understand and helped me differentiate what I should be counting for this video. Second, a big shout out to Reddit user Skrillex John, aka John.wave on Instagram. This guy answered so many questions I had and supplied me with so much useful information and various pieces of media for this video. I couldn't do it without him. Lastly, I have to give a massive shout out to Reddit user Big Vent Energy, aka Dilettante on SoundCloud. This guy has an insane amount of Skrillex knowledge. He answered every single question I had and provided a ton of informational help for this video. I can't thank him enough. Finally, down in the description, I included a spreadsheet that includes every remix discussed in both parts 1 and 2 in case you want to track any down and listen to them yourself. With all that said, catch you on the next challenge here on Recollect.